Mr. Gregor, afternoon, Paul. Based on the two previous speakers, what can you tell us about the lineup and where Logan Stanley will fit in? Basically, because you had mentioned a health concern on the back end yesterday.
Yeah, the back end, front end. We're kind of trying to make sure we get the healthiest guys we can in the lineup. So he'll go in with DeMello where he started, and then we'll see how he's moving from there. And then the same up front. I liked Harks and Best last game a lot. Just kind of picking the healthier of the two and making sure that we got everybody that we can get ahead of anything that anybody's dealing with.
Go next to Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Mike.
So Paul, sorry, just to clarify then, it's Jordie Benn and Jansen Harkins who come out tonight?
Correct.
Okay.
We'll go next to Stephen Wino from the Associated Press. Go ahead, Stephen.
Hey, Paul, I know every team's dealing with the same schedule, but just how tired do you think guys are, just the condensed schedule and how many games in a short period of time this season?
I mean, it was a challenge for us a month ago, a real challenge. We played 17, 12 on the road. I mean, that was brutal. I think what it feels to be the biggest challenge is there's no fans in the building. I think that's the biggest driver kind of when fatigue sets in, it's not even the pressure to perform, the excitement about performance. A lot of times late in the year is driven by your fans, right? You get in the building, you're tired, they're wired, right? And it brings a lot to the game. That to me is, if you're saying what's missing from this year, I mean, the schedules have been brutal for most teams, I think, and we've got this kind of unusual dynamic. We don't have anybody in our time zone in our division, and when we play at home half the time, we play on their time zone to keep markets happy. So we got all these, but it's the lack of fans that I'm not talking about our sixth game. I'm just talking about the juice that you get when you get onto the bench and the players get going, and sometimes even on the road's better because you get everybody screaming at you, and there's none of that. It's dead out there, and that to me is the thing that I think keeps, people are probably going, man, we want to make the playoffs, but we'd be really, really happy when this thing's over, the regular season's over. So there will be a completely different energy level in the playoffs because it's the playoffs. But man, it's quiet out there.
We'll go next to Paul Friesen from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Paul.
Just following up on that, Paul, you talk to a lot of coaches around the league, I'm sure. Have there been some tricks to counteract that some teams have maybe done better than others, or what do you think?
You know what? I think everybody's trying to manage their own schedule as their own challenge. I've talked to a bunch of guys that haven't had a practice in a month and a half, right? They're just, nobody's on the ice anymore. And when they do, it's short, it's 20 minutes, and they get on and off the ice. I think teams are dealing with almost completely different scenarios in each market, right? Like our setup is completely different than everybody else's. Part of it, the Moose is doing the same thing. Like calling a guys up isn't easy for us, right? Like we're in a different province. We can't even bring guys in and out. So, the guys in California got a different setup. The guys in Vegas got a different setup. The guys in Florida got a completely different setup. The East Coast bracket changes time zones once a month. Like everybody's dealing with their own particular set of challenges right now. So there's all different kinds of way of doing it. I think the one thing that we're all trying to do is, and especially maybe in the northern market, is try to stay as even keel with this thing as you can and not let it get swung one way or the other. We're clearly trying to deal with that right now. But everybody's it's not on the same page. It's not, I don't even say it's a level playing field. We're just playing all with a different set of cards right now.
We'll go back to Ken Weeb from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Weeb.
Paul, you've gone to Pionk and Morrissey a few times when chasing the game. Is that something you'd consider looking at a little bit more as a pairing during the last stretch here of games?
Yeah. We'll consider looking at it. It has to do with the match, and it has to do with some health things we got going on the back there. So, yeah, we'll look at it.
We'll go back to Mike McIntyre from the Free Press. Go ahead, Mike.
Paul, just another back end question. Realizing health is something you have to keep in mind here. Do you foresee Ville Heinola maybe getting another look here in the last 5 games in that rotation?
Yeah, I do. I needed to get a look at Jordie here just on a consecutive set of games, and I like what I saw. He's got some good poise with the puck, and he moved it. They were clean. Those two guys are pretty darn clean together. We feel that Stan has something when he's on his A game that makes him a little bit different than everybody else because he does move the puck very well for a big man. And we're going to get into a heavy series one way or the other. It's when you look at, you know, your potential opponents and they got some high end skill, but they've also got some weight in their lineup now. But I do think that toward the end here that you're going to see Ville again.
We'll go back to Paul Friesen from the Sun. Go ahead, Paul.
You did hold second place and you dropped that. Is there any psychological edge to holding third, or would it hurt to fall to fourth, or do you care about the standings?
I don't spend a lot of time worrying about that because like I wouldn't admit it to you even if I did, right? Like in truth, if I sat there and said, like, we got a way better chance of beating that team than we do of beating that team in the first round. I mean, I don't know what I like. I think I like my game against Toronto more than I like it against Montreal or possibly Edmonton, but we haven't even seen those teams, right? Because they've had players out of their lineup and it's true of all of them. You don't truly know what they're going to look like until they get their health. And I think probably the way the schedule lays out for everybody, from what I understand, what's going on in their rooms, everybody's probably going to have everybody back at start. So the start of the playoffs. But no, I mean, I don't know that there's a stat there that tells you should. We've been a better road team than we've been a home team, and I'm not sure we played better against one of those other teams. So I don't think it matters.
We'll go back to Stephen Wino from Associated Press. Go ahead, Stephen.
Hey, Paul, to follow up on your comment about fans, one of the ideas is moving the North Division playoffs to the United States, maybe to an Arizona or somewhere like that, to have fans in the building. Would that help at all? Is that something you'd support rather than empty arenas at home?
I want to play in Winnipeg, man. I mean, I know our record's not great, but if we ever get a 7:00 start, our record's not too bad. I think there's something psychological about being in your own town, even though there's no fans in your building. I think we're going to do whatever we have to do. And if that means we got to go play somewhere else, we're going to play somewhere else. And when I get asked that question, I'm going to tell you it's great, right? Because there's no room for wine in hockey. But if you're asking me where you want to play in the playoffs, you want to play in Winnipeg.
Just a couple more for Coach. We'll go to Sarah Lesky. Go ahead, Sarah.
Paul, just with Adam coming back into the lineup, what can that do potentially for your penalty kill, which has hit a rough spot?
Yeah, so we've hit a rough spot on three systems, right? 5-on-5 penalty kill and power play. But I actually like where we're trending in our 5-on-5 game. We've given up 2 even strength goals with our goalie in the net. So I like that. The penalty kill is a key piece to what we do. And it's lost some confidence. So we're just out of lanes a little bit where we hadn't been before. And we're a little slower on retrievals and we're a little slower on cleanouts. And Adam has a lot. So just from the technical part of it, he's a big, experienced, rangy guy that can knock stuff down. That's just but it's as much confidence as anything else. When you get a guy back, like when Nick Ehlers comes back in your lineup, you're just getting more confidence that you're going to score goals. When Laus comes back into your lineup, you're getting more confidence that you can shut a game down and you can shut a kill down. Our last win we killed a 5-on-3, right? And that just fired our bench right up and away you go. And goals, as you know, as you certainly get into the playoffs, you stop a PK, right? That means you got to score 2 less goals than if you don't stop that PK. So that penalty kill is critical. We've fallen off it. It was a strength for us in our last stretch. It's really hurt, and it coincides, I think, with Adam being out of our lineup.
And final question to Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Sean.
Thanks, Gregor. Hey, Paul. You've said it, and a bunch of your guys have said it. It's a good thing you're going through what you're going through now, and not in the playoffs or heading in there. But I'm wondering, with the runway kind of getting shorter down the stretch here, I know you like where your game has trended the last couple of games. How many kind of games do you have to stack up one on top of each other where you're doing the right thing to kind of get that good feeling going into the playoffs? Or can you just kind of turn it on a dime?
You need 16 in the playoffs. Listen, like I understand the question. I mean, you guys have the right to ask me any question you want. I don't have a number for you. It's a feeling, right? You get in there and you get in the playoffs, you feel great, and you lose the first game. That doesn't make you feel. You feel like you go and win the first game, you're feeling really good. So I'm not a big believer in that momentum concept. I think that the opportunity to, you know, for momentum change happens every single time the puck drops, whether you can get on a team for sure and they can get on you, but there's an opportunity to change any momentum every time you touch the ice. And we're going out tonight. This is going to be a fast game. It's going to be, you watch them play now, it's house's money and they got lots of speed and they're making plays. And we're going to have to play our asses off to beat them. I thought we did the last time in here. My understanding is people didn't like the win. I thought it was a hell of a win in here. These guys are rolling. And then you get a good feeling and move on to the next. And if it doesn't go our way, if there's enough that we like, that we understand what we like, then we take that with us.
Thanks very much, Coach.